You got your salary, 2 weeks have passed, and you're already thinking, is it gone? You look at your card balance and realize that buying something just isn't possible right now. And yet you work, you try, you don't buy yachts or go to expensive restaurants every day. But the money still disappears every month. How to judge yourself? It's not because you're irresponsible and not because you earn too little. It's because nobody taught you how to manage it. School didn't do it. Parents mostly didn't know themselves. And it benefits banks that you don't know. A financially illiterate person is their best client. According to a global study by Standard & Poor's, only a third of adults on the planet are financially literate. 2/3 of the world really manage blindly. Today, we begin to fix this. Before talking about saving and investing, we need to understand the basic question. What is money really? Most people answer bills, coins, numbers in a banking app. Technically correct, but this describes how money looks, not what it actually is. Money is an agreement. Thousands of years ago, people traded directly. Fish for an axe, grain for fabric. Then they invented intermediaries. First shells, then metals, then paper money backed by gold, then just paper money backed by government guarantees, and now numbers in a computer. The entire history of money is a history of increasing abstraction. We all collectively agreed to consider something valuable, and it became valuable. That's it. But there is a more precise definition. Money is frozen time. When you work 8 hours and receive a salary, you convert 8 hours of your life into money. That money stores your time, your energy, your health, your youth. When you spend money consciously, you buy what truly matters for your life. When you spend it mindlessly, you mindlessly spend your life itself. That's why financial illiteracy is not just an inconvenience and not just a minor annoyance. It's a way to quietly waste years of your life. Now, the main question that many people ask themselves, but rarely find an honest answer to, even people with good salaries, programmers, doctors, lawyers, managers, live paycheck to paycheck, just like people with low incomes. It seems like a paradox, but there is a simple explanation, and it's called lifestyle inflation. When a person starts earning more, their expenses grow the same way, and sometimes even faster. Got a raise, rented a more expensive apartment, bought a better car, started going to restaurants more often, shops at more expensive stores. And in the end, the amount left at the end of the month is the same as before, or even less because they took out a loan for that very better car. Studies show 8 out of 10 people who receive a salary increase a year later live paycheck to paycheck again. The amount increased, but the feeling of shortage remained. There are 4 main reasons why this happens, and I want you to remember all of them. First, lack of awareness. People simply don't track where their money goes. Small daily expenses seem insignificant. Coffee here, subscription there, taxi instead of public transport. But together, they create a huge hole in the budget. Second, social pressure. We live in an era of social media where everyone shows only the best side of their life. Expensive vacations, new gadgets, fashionable clothes. And we subconsciously try to match that level. Third, lack of long-term thinking. People focus on today, not on 10 years ahead. Fourth, absence of an investment habit. Saving and investing should be automatic, like brushing your teeth. But most people treat investing as something optional, something they will start when there is more money. But that moment almost never comes. So what is the real minimum to start investing? Let's be honest. It's not about the amount. You can start with $10. You can start with $50. You can start with $100. The real minimum is the moment you change your thinking. When you stop asking, how much do I need? And start asking, how regularly can I invest? Because investing is not about one big action. It's about consistency. Small amounts invested regularly create something powerful over time. And this is where compound interest begins to work. At first, the growth seems slow, but after years, the curve changes dramatically. Time does most of the heavy lifting, and the earlier you start, the less effort you need later. Imagine two people. One starts investing at 20 years old. The other starts at 35. Both invest the same amount every month. Nothing extraordinary, just discipline. By retirement age, the difference between them is enormous, not because one invested more money, but because one invested more time. Time in investing works like a multiplier. It quietly, slowly, but relentlessly increases the result. And this is why waiting for the perfect moment is the biggest mistake. There is no perfect moment. There is only today. Even if today you can invest only a small amount, it is already a step forward. And steps repeated over years create real financial freedom. Now let's talk about fear, because honestly, this is what stops most people. Fear of losing money, fear of making a mistake, fear of not understanding something. And this fear is absolutely normal because money represents your time, your effort, your life energy. But here's the important shift. Not investing is also a risk. Inflation slowly reduces the purchasing power of your money every single year. Doing nothing feels safe, but in reality, it quietly moves you backward. Investing, on the other hand, is about calculated risk. It's not gambling. It's not blind guessing. It's learning how the system works and using it wisely. So instead of asking, what is the minimum amount? Ask yourself a different question. What percentage of my income can I invest every single month without stress? For some people, it will be 5%. For others, maybe 10%. The exact number is not as important as the habit itself. When investing becomes automatic, you stop relying on motivation. You remove emotions from the process. And this is what makes long-term success possible. Small, disciplined actions repeated for years always beat emotional decisions. Consistency is boring, but boring is powerful. So let's summarize everything we talked about. Money is not just paper. It is your stored time. Financial problems often come not from low income, but from lack of system. Lifestyle inflation quietly eats salary increases. The minimum amount to invest is less important than the habit itself. Time is your greatest advantage if you start early. Fear is normal, but doing nothing is also a risk. Consistency beats intensity in the long run. And the earlier you begin, the easier your future becomes. The real question is not how much you need. The real question is when you start. So if you were waiting for a sign, this is it. You don't need a huge salary to begin. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need to understand everything from day one. You only need to start small and stay consistent, because investing is not about becoming rich overnight. It's about building freedom step by step, one decision, one habit, 1 month at a time. And 10 years from now, you will be grateful that you started today. And here is something most people never calculate. How much does 1 year of delay actually cost? Not emotionally, but in real numbers. Let's imagine you invest $100 monthly with average long-term market returns over decades. If you start today, time compounds quietly. If you wait 1 year, growth shifts. That missing year never returns to you. And the difference grows bigger over decades, because compound interest rewards patience, not perfection. You don't need perfect timing to win. You need time working consistently on your side. At this point, you might still be thinking that investing sounds complicated and overwhelming. Charts, platforms, brokers, risks. It can feel like too much information at once. But every skill in your life once felt confusing at the beginning. Driving a car seemed difficult before your first lesson behind the wheel. Learning a new job felt stressful before your first month passed. Investing works exactly the same way. Clarity comes through action. The first step is always the hardest because it breaks uncertainty. After that, progress becomes a matter of repetition and patience. You do not need to master the entire financial system immediately. You only need to understand the basic principles and apply them consistently. Over time, knowledge grows together with your investments and confidence. And one day, what once seemed complex will feel completely natural to you. Let's talk honestly about something uncomfortable. Most people are not poor because they earn too little, but because they never built a system that protects their money from themselves. Without a system, every salary increase simply disappears into spontaneous decisions, emotional purchases, and upgrades that feel deserved in the moment, but meaningless in the long run. A system does not restrict your freedom. It actually creates it by giving direction to your money instead of letting your impulses control everything. When investing becomes automatic and part of your monthly routine, you stop negotiating with yourself every single time you receive your income. There is no internal debate, no emotional tension, no dramatic decision, just a quiet transfer that happens in the background while you focus on living your life. This is how disciplined investors think. They remove friction, reduce emotional noise, and design their environment so that good financial behavior becomes the default option. And over the years, these small, almost invisible decisions compound into something that looks dramatic from the outside but felt simple along the way. The difference between financial stress and financial stability is rarely one big breakthrough. It is usually thousands of small correct actions repeated consistently. And once you truly understand this, you stop searching for shortcuts and start respecting the slow, steady power of time and structure. At some point, investing stops being about money and starts being about control. Control over your future, your time, and the choices available to you. When you have savings and investments working quietly in the background, you think differently, you negotiate differently, and you make career decisions from strength instead of fear. Financial stability gives you the ability to say no. No to toxic work environments, no to bad opportunities, and no to situations that drain your energy. It also gives you the power to say yes. Yes to opportunities, yes to learning, and yes to projects that may not pay immediately but grow long term. This psychological shift is often underestimated, but it changes the way you see risk, money, and even your own potential. Instead of reacting emotionally to short-term market fluctuations, you begin to think in years, not days, and strategy replaces panic. Short-term noise becomes background information, while long-term growth becomes your main focus and guiding principle. And over time, this mindset compounds just like your investments, quietly building resilience, patience, and a deeper sense of financial confidence. The real transformation is not in your bank account first. It happens in the way you think, plan, and respond to uncertainty. And when that internal transformation happens, money becomes a tool you control instead of a source of stress that controls you. One day in the future, you will look back at this moment and realize that the decision to start was far more important than the amount you started with. It will not be the size of your first investment that mattered. It will be the fact that you chose discipline over hesitation and action over endless preparation. You will understand that financial freedom was never built in dramatic moments, but in small, quiet decisions repeated consistently when nobody was watching. And the most powerful part is this: you do not need permission, perfect knowledge, or perfect timing to begin shaping a stronger future for yourself. You only need a decision made today, repeated tomorrow, and protected over years with patience, structure, and respect for the power of time. So, if you are waiting for the right moment to start investing, this is it.